What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like and subscribe as you tune into the channel and check out the content. And with that being said, I want to talk about people's appetite to want to see athletes and sometimes entertainer. Like they want to see they want to see athletes and entertainers, for lack of a better word, destroyed, right? And that's not everybody, but it is a lot of people, and you can tell by the way that what we consume as for content. Like if there's when on the nightly news, if you watch the nightly news, you'll see they talk about everything: violence, robberies, and homicides and stuff like that. And at the end of the newscast, they might have like a feel good story, you know what I mean? But for the most part, it's always something negative, right? And so when you talk about sports and what athletes go through and everything, the drama is what the drama is what attracts the crowds, right? Especially the novice fan. Like, and for a fan who likes basketball, it's enough for them to go to a basketball game and watch a good game, and you know what I mean, and enjoy that. And you can do that in person. But nowadays, the way we consume TV, social media, and all these different platforms, they can get really they can really go into these players' lives, right? And dissect their lives and just really make their lives a spectacle the way they couldn't in the past, because there was not enough outlets for them to do this, right? And so, and the reason why they do this is because they know that there's an appetite for this. Like people back in the gladiator days, not that much different from people in today's society, right? And so I'm gonna play this audio to kind of give you and compare today's society to, like the way people thought back in the gladiator days.
How many people have you seen die in person? How many times have you actually seen a person in their final moments? If you're like most people, probably not many. Death is dealt with by a minority of people in our society: doctors, nurses, first responders, soldiers. But as for the rest of us, for the most part, we shelter ourselves from the reality of death. But in ancient Rome, things were very different. Death was ubiquitous. The average Roman probably witnessed hundreds of people die, not just from disease or warfare or accidents, but in the sporting arena, dying violent, gory deaths for entertainment. People gathered in massive, frenzied crowds to watch men kill one another in gladiatorial fights, and to watch people being literally torn apart by animals. According to the Roman statesman Cicero, these spectacles were attended by immense numbers and by every class of men, and the multitudes were delighted by them above all things. People would
All right. And so my thing is, with like I said, the way we consume news and social media, you can tell that it's trending towards the. I'm not saying that people are going to start, like they're going to start holding like public executions and things like this. But if you're an athlete, like we have witnessed, like athletes, for example, Kobe Bryant. We watched Kobe, experience that helicopter crash where like I think it was like 9 people who passed away in that helicopter crash, right? And so that's big news, right? And we also have seen athletes' lives being destroyed, like financially. We watch athletes' lives be destroyed, like their relationships and everything. And that's all news to people. That's all that's what people consume. People don't really consume, the good stuff, because that really don't get their attention. Like everything negative that goes on when we talk about sports and athletes, people want more than just what they see on the court, right? And so social media and these different platforms are a way for them to feed that to people, right? And so when they feed that to people, is going towards that, because you can tell the most extreme people on these different platforms get the most attention. Like you can come on here and you can say, this about race or sex or gender and stuff like that, and your numbers on these platforms will grow. You know what I mean? Because you're saying something that is extreme, and that whether people agree with what you're saying or not, some people are going to agree, some people are going to disagree. So they're going to tune in to agree with you, and they're going to tune in to go back at what you're saying. Right. And so when we think about somebody like LeBron James, his whole life and everything about LeBron James, everything he say and everything he do is like under the microscope. And I think for athletes, they need to really be careful, because when you're dealing with these dark forces who are willing to feed you and your life to the masses, right? And they'll be able to, or they're going to do anything that they think that will, that will satisfy the appetite of the public. And if you don't believe me, like I said, just look back at gladiator days, the way people filled stadium, they filled the arenas to watch people just really get destroyed. And like I said, they're not going to, they're not going to start holding public executions and stuff. I don't think they had the stomach for that. But if you're an athlete, and your life gets turned upside down, somebody steal all your money, your marriage, or you might lose a family member or something like that, that's not entertainment for you. That's you are really, you're going through something and you're suffering, right? But people are watching you as you really suffer, because you're under that microscope, right? And so these times that we're going through right now, I think, like I said, are no different than back when people used to watch those gladiator fights, except for you're not really, every once in a while somebody might pass, a family member or something like that may, meet their demise in a tragic way, like I said, like with Kobe Bryant. But I also want to play another clip, not a clip, some audio of this guy explaining like why people are like this and why they consume and what they get out of watching people's lives be turned upside down. And so this audio I'm about to play just explains how playing with death gives people a sense of immortality, right? And so listen to this, what this guy says about
the canvas-covered bodies of the horses on the sand to prove it. He gives you a feeling of his immortality, and as you watch it, it becomes yours. Then when it belongs to both of you, he proves it with the sword. By playing with death, the bullfighter gives you a sense of immortality. And this, I believe, was why the gladiatorial games were so popular. It gave the Romans who watched a sense of rapturous immortality, which they craved. And I believe the same is true of horror films. By watching people play with death, narrowly evading it, or even falling victim to it, we get a profound sense of life and death, a sense that we don't have in our days at the office or factory or binging on Netflix. By witnessing death and killing, these things come alive in our consciousness as felt realities. In such a state, the suchness of things can break through into consciousness. Granted, the effect is different depending on whom you identify with, the killer or the victim. When you identify with the triumphant killer, as the Romans most often did, you feel for a brief moment invincible, a surge of power, the taking away of everything a person has in one blow. When you identify with the people who are defeated, or killed, or threatened, or being hunted, as in horror films, then you feel the expansive and taking value of life, because you are overwhelmed by what is lost, and what might be lost. When we mentally put ourselves in the experience of the gladiator dying in front of us, or of the slasher victim, or of the dying bull, and we feel what we are losing, we feel afraid when it is happening, and sad when it is over. But we also feel very fine, very high, very elevated, because this sadness and this gloom is impressing on us how very valuable those things are. And it reminds us what it feels like to be meaningful beings ourselves.
Now that's crazy. Like when you listen to it, and like the narrator said, even if you, no matter what side you take in the scenario, right, you feel like you like people get a charge out of it, like even if they're on the side of the victim or if they're on the side of the one who is perpetrating the who is the perpetrator, right? And so dark forces know and they understand that people have an appetite for that no matter where they stand or how they feel about those situations. And my thing is with these different platforms and how much these athletes are really under the microscope now, like not just their on the court or on the field lives, but the things that they go through financially, in their personal relationships, their relationships with their with everybody around them, anything that people can find, that they can get some type of that might be like gory, not gory in the literal sense, but like it got to be some juicy or gory type of information or content that's going to attract people and draw people to, and people really want to see that, right? And so these dark forces feed this to the people because of a natural like a natural attraction to this type of content. And so when we see somebody like LeBron James, like everything in his life, like I said earlier, is under the microscope. And I think the athletes and entertainers need to be careful because these dark forces are looking for people to use and exploit this way. They're looking for somebody to, somebody so they can be able to turn their lives upside down, destroy their lives, and then feed it to the public, feed it to the algorithm, and feed it to these different platforms. And if you don't think that this is, something that is really going on and something that's true, just look at what goes on with athletes and entertainers. Like they are so much more under the microscope and get exposed so much more now than they did back in the day. Just imagine if Michael Jordan had been, like we had the social media age back when Michael Jordan was playing, or we had all these different platforms when Michael Jordan was playing, and some of the stuff that came out about his gambling or reasons for his father passing and stuff like that. Like social media would have ripped him apart. And so this era right here, I think is just exposing the need, like the want for some people to be able to like really just destroy people's lives. So I just wanted to point that out. Um, Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Also, don't forget to leave a comment. And with that being said, check y'all out in the next video. Peace.